The 3 words I'd use to describe my role is team, rewarding and challenging.
Positive, team, supportive.
3 words I'd use to describe this job: gratifying, inspirational, challenging. Before this, I was a hairdresser, but I wanted to do more than make people feel good. I wanted to help change their lives. I'm now part of a team that does exactly that every day.
I spend my days talking to the residents of Nottinghamshire, their families and the support services that help them on a day-to-day basis. We're the front door to adult social care in Nottinghamshire, and we're responsible for taking the time to build a picture through talking with our residents about how they lead their lives, the things that they find difficult, the things that they can do, and also looking at how they wish to fulfil their lives to the best of their possibilities. In the 5 years of working here, I've learnt so much, particularly about social care. I had no previous experience in it, but through a really good training and induction plan, I was given all of the skills and information that I needed to be able to do my job. I've also been able to grow personally and within my career since then through a personally tailored plan of support and training to keep me going.
We're a really close-knit team and we thrive off helping the community of Nottinghamshire to live a valued and independent lifestyle. Every day is different and there's always new things to learn, which makes the role interesting and really exciting. At the end of the day, knowing that I've helped a number of people to have a better quality of life makes every day worthwhile.
This winter, more than ever, with COVID-19 still circulating, we need help to reduce all avoidable risks. You can help protect the NHS, social care and loved ones by getting the flu vaccine. You may be eligible for the free vaccine at your GP or local pharmacy if you are over 65, pregnant or have a long-term condition. Find out if you are eligible at nhs.uk/staywell. Children up to year 7 can get the free nasal spray at school or through their GP if they are below school age. If you are not eligible for the free vaccine, you can pay for it at your local pharmacy. The flu vaccination does not give you flu. It reduces the risk of catching flu, as well as spreading it to others. If you had the vaccination in the past, that will not protect you as the flu strain changes every year, so you need to have a new one this year. It is also important to wash your hands often with warm water and soap. Use tissues when you cough or sneeze, and bin used tissues as quickly as possible. Thank you for helping to protect yourself and loved ones this winter.
I can really recommend being a foster carer for Notts County Council. There's always someone walking the journey alongside you, whether that's other foster carers or social workers. It really helps to provide stability and consistency for children who really need it, and that's really rewarding as a foster carer.
Roger and I have been fostering for 35 years. We do deal with challenges, but to say we've been doing it for 35 years to me proves that it's not impossible. We learn an awful lot from these young people, and even now we're still learning.
As a foster family, we care, we want to make a difference, and we get so much fulfilment from fostering. The satisfaction of making a difference is something that money can't buy. Just seeing the smiles on the children's faces and helping them reach their potential is wonderful.
We work as family workers within the fostering service for Nottinghamshire County Council.
I really enjoy my work. I really enjoy meeting lots of different foster carers.
You know, we get to know the families, we get to know the kids, and we care, basically. It's important as it is to them that the kids are getting the support that they need.
A lot of people said to me they would like to be a foster carer, but there's something stopping them. I had that as well. And we decided just to jump in and do it and see what happened. And for us, it's been the best decision we've ever made.
It's been a fantastic decision, it really has, yes.
Once people start to become a foster carer and take that leap to do it, they'll understand how much it gives back, not just to the child, but how much it empowers you as well.
I'm Leon, I'm a care leaver, and I've been in care since I was 8. I've been with the same parents since, and they're amazing. Like, they are my foster parents, but I do class them as my parents, my mum and dad. All a child wants really from a family is to be supported, loved and cared for, and know they're there because they're wanted. From personal experience, I know the difference it's made for my life.
We always say that we foster as a whole family. It's not just us who are the carers, our children are involved in that. And even now, people express concern about the effect on our birth children of foster caring. I think we need to kind of get past that and dispel that myth, because actually the overall effect on our children, I think, is positive. They're learning new skills, they're gaining empathy, they're interacting with children from different backgrounds. For a long time we didn't make use of support care, and we wanted our child to settle into our placement and not feel pushed out, but it's actually been really helpful for us to start to have support care.
We've known Zoe for a number of years, and it's meant that we got to know her foster child. So for her it's been like coming for a sleepover rather than a feeling she's coming to another family. I got into fostering for Notts County Council, and it was something that I've always wanted to do. But working full time and my husband also working full time, we thought it's not really going to be something we can do now. But after looking at the website, we realised there was this wonderful thing called support care that we were able to offer. It might surprise you, but actually I'm under 30. I don't have any children of my own, and that doesn't stop you from being a foster carer.
I think some people don't go into foster care because they think it's going to be really costly to have another child living in their house, but actually the fostering allowance is generous enough to cover all the costs of having a child living with you.
We have a lot of fun on the weekends when we have foster children in. We get to go to parks, ice skating, children's events, trampoline in parks like I Jump.
We get access to the Max card, which is a discount card for foster carers and their children to access different local amenities. Also recently we went on holiday and we were able to use the Max card to get free access to some castles and historical places because it's a national initiative.
We chose to go with Notts County Council because of the support care that was offered and the training, and it's always local.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone, again.
The future's so bright, I've got to wear shades.
I'm getting signals that I've got a problem. Have I?
4, 3, 2.
Oh, we're waiting for confirmation to come back from...
Time's up, I'm afraid.
Microsoft.
Buck 3. Tim Buck 3 was the answer.
Who's got a radio on?
Radio 2. Well, these 3 songs all in...
Right.
Who's the pop
Apparently,
master?
we're now on. We're now on. We're now available to the
I missed the question. What was the question?
Who's got the radio on, I think. Right. So good morning, everyone. Before we begin this meeting, I would like my chaplain, the Reverend Liz Murray, to lead us in prayers. Liz?
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Chair. I don't seem to have an audio connection today, so I'm over the telephone. Therefore, as we gather from across the county, we bring before God our everything that is on our hearts and minds at this time. And especially we think of those who are experiencing loss at this time. We think of Councillor Adair in the loss of his wife, Alison. We remember Alison, those who knew her. And it should be a time to celebrate her life as well as mourning her death. It is recognised that Reg cared devoutly for Alison during her illness. And we think of them at this time. As we come before you, Heavenly Father, this morning, we ask you to be in our hearts, in our minds, in our voices, that we seek wisdom in our deliberations, and we give ourselves to you. We pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Murray, or Liz. I'll see you on Sunday, I think.
I hope so. Wonderful.
Well, welcome everyone to this full council meeting, which is being held remotely, broadcasted live and recorded for publication.
Unknown participant is now exiting.
With the majority of members of this council joining the meeting from their own homes. I am Councillor Stuart Wallace, and I am the chairman of the County Council, and am chairing this meeting today. The quorum for this meeting is 17, and I can confirm that we are quorate. In addition to the members of this council, there are also a number of officers in the meeting today, including the Chief Executive, Anthony May, and Monitoring Officer, Marjorie Toward. I also saw Colin Pettigrew for a little while ago, so I'm assuming that he's staying with us. Can I go to item 1 on your agendas in your papers? And can I ask for approval of the minutes of the last meeting? Could I have a proposer, please?
Move it.
Thank you. Could I have it seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. All those in for? Thank you, it's carried. Item number 2, please. Are there any apologies for absence? Can I first ask for Councillor Richard Butler?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to you. We do have an apology from Councillor Reg Adair for reasons that colleagues will fully understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brooks.
Good morning, Chairman. We don't have any apologies, but Councillor Simbiridis will be joining us at around 11:30. He has a personal matter to attend to.
Thank you very much. Councillor Helen Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no apologies.
Thank you. I've received an apology from Councillor Dobson. I can see Councillor Carr in the chamber, so I'm assuming that Councillor Carr is staying with the day. Councillor?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on then, please, to item 3, which is declarations of an interest. If any councillor or officer has either a disclosable pecuniary interest or a private interest on any matter on the agenda, you should declare it now. Please raise your hand now if you have an interest to declare. When called to speak, you should state whether or not it is disclosable pecuniary interest or private interest, and to give brief details. But before you do, sorry. Right. Councillor Bosnak. Councillor Bosniak, you've got a yellow hand. Are you notifying us of
no. It's a mistake. Is it still there now?
It is.
Right. I'll press it and again. Gone. Right.
It's still here. Right. Yes, I think it's come off now. Right. Thank you.
That's fine.
So, does any member have any interests they wish to declare? I'm scanning there and I see no yellow hands. If obviously, as I always say, during the debates and discussions, if you realise that you may have one, just simply indicate at the time and we will deal with that interest there and then. Moving on, item 4 then, please, which is Chairman's business, to update the Council on the business undertaken since the last meeting. While we are unable to receive and present awards in person currently, I would like to acknowledge where awards have been won by our hard-working staff, and I'm pleased to say I have a number of awards to tell you about today. The first is the Adult and Community Learner Provider for the year. I'm pleased to announce that Inspire Nottinghamshire have been awarded the Adult and Community Learning Provider of the year by the Times Educational Supplement Awards of 2020. Inspire delivers the work on behalf of the County Council. It is wonderful that they have received this national recognition. The service has been quick to respond to the COVID and is providing some really innovative opportunities for learners, especially around skills for employment, work, readiness, business startups and well-beings. So I'd like to congratulate the team for this amazing achievement. And while on that subject of Inspire, for some of us had the opportunity of going to see the concert that was put on by Inspire last Monday. I thought it was an excellent one. It had children and young people from primary school through to secondary school. I thought the whole thing went well. It was well structured. And I'd like to, compliment the children and young people on performances, and secondly, on the hard work that the staff put together to put that point to see. If you wish to see it, you can still get hold of it and have a look at it. Well worth it. Hour and I think 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but certainly excellent. The second item is ICE East Midlands Merit Awards of 2020. These are highly commended in the small project category. I'm also pleased to announce that Nottingham County Council Flood Risk Management Team secured the highly commended award in the fiercely contended small project under £2 million category in the recent Institute of Civil Engineers, ICE, East Midland Merit Awards for 2020 ceremony. These awards provide an opportunity to celebrate and showcase outstanding civil engineering achievements, innovation and ingenuity in the East Midlands. The award was secured for the Southwell Property Flood Resilience Project, a project that to date has seen over 100 properties in Southwell protected from flooding using bespoke property flood reliance. The project was delivered to by our supply partner, White House Construction Limited, who surveyed, designed and installed measures such as flood doors, barriers, non-return valves and brickwork sealant on properties to provide increased protection against the impact of future flooding events. The project was applauded for its team approach and liaison with the community affected. So congratulations to the team. This is the second year that the team's efforts have been recognised by ICE, with 2019 seeing a win in the major property category. And let's hope for a hat trick for next year. The third is the Association for Public Service Excellence, ASP, Street Lighting Innovation Awards 2020. Via East Midlands Limited, representing Nottinghamshire County Council, recently won the APS Street Lighting Service Innovation Award of 2020 for the LED street lighting renewal project entitled Nottinghamshire Lighting the Way to Save Energy. The project has been running since 2014 and is currently managed by Claire Murden of Via Operations Electrical Team in partnership with Nick Stendel of the NCC Energy Team and Saliax Finance. Over 70,000 LED lanterns have now been installed in the county and work is ongoing. Funding grants of just over £12 million have been achieved with the energy savings costs of 9.7 to date. The project has been at no extra cost to the authority, as this money would have been spent on energy bills. An energy reduction of 81.5 million kilowatt and 71,300 tonnes of carbon have been saved since the project began. There has also been a 47% reduction in lighting faults, resulting in an improved service and value for money for the residents of Nottinghamshire. A further bid of 2.5 million has recently been secured, which will allow the project to continue until 2023. I'd like to offer my congratulations to the team in winning this award and their continued hard work. Smarter Working Life Awards, and I am delighted to announce that the Council has won 2 awards in the Smarter Working Life Awards, recognising the transformation of the way that we use data to manage our services and to inform our plans and strategies. Organised in the partnership with the Cabinet Office, the Smarter Working Lives Awards celebrate outstanding public sector digital transformation and innovation. The Council won the Smarter Working Award for the best data and interoperability project for our work on the intelligence-led programme's performance. The programme is implementing the Council's business intelligence strategy, and the judges were impressed by the introduction of agile working practices in our performance, intelligence and policy teams, and the development of dashboards and data visualizations. They are now used as part of the management of the Council services. The Council approach so impressed the judges that we were shortlisted for the overall award for special recognition, where the Council received the runner-up award. These awards are tremendously recognition of the investment that the Council has made in data intelligence and the work of our performance, intelligence and policy team. This work provided us with invaluable foundation for the intelligence that we have needed throughout the pandemic to stay abreast of the needs and pressures of our services. Item 5 is Celebrations Success Department Awards Scheme for Adult Social Care and Public Health. And finally, as an event I was sorry to be able to miss due to other commitments, was an announcement of the runners-up and finalists for the first departmental award scheme in the Adult Social Care and Public Health Department, which took place at the recent Adult Social Care and Public Health Committee meeting. The inaugural service focused on the achievements of staff in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and I know the panel has had a difficult time selecting the runners-up and the overall winners from a wide range of strong submissions. I highly commend that you watch the YouTube broadcast of the awards presentation to hear about the amazing work of our finalists. And I'm sure you will join me with congratulating all the members involved. I just want to add one to that, if I may, and that is myself and the Vice Chairman have, over the last months, been making a point of seeing quite a lot of our working teams. And I think it's been a great experience, certainly to me. I thought I knew a lot of just seeing what a very good, dedicated, competent, initiative staff that we have. Those involved teams of the Enable teams, the Restart, customer services. And I particularly want to go on to just mention customer services, because they have dealt with 650,000 calls in the year, which I think is a tremendous amount to be able to take, answer, resolve in many cases, and help people to move on. And just to show you a little bit of what they're dealing with, 60,000 were received from residents who were shielding, 4,000 were trace and test, another 3,000 were in social media, and finally 4,000 people were contacting us who had very vulnerable illnesses and needed advice over the tier 3. So as I say, I've been very, very impressed on staff, and I think we hear a lot about the NHS, etc. But without these people, without our people being able to be so efficient and effective, it allows the NHS and the rest of the system to work. So it's a personal congratulations from me, and I hope you will join me in that one. Right. Item 5, constituency issues. This item gives members who have previously given notice by the deadline of 10 a.m, 3 working days before this meeting. It provides an opportunity for members to speak up for 3 minutes on any particular matter relevant to their constituencies or any other particular issues arising from their electoral division, which is relevant to the services provided by the County Council. This is an opportunity simply to air these issues in the Council's meeting. It will not give rise to a debate on the issues or question or answer sessions. Members are reminded they may only speak for 3 minutes. I have had one such speech. Councillor Sybil Fielding, would you like to? Are you with me?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I rise today to emphasise the importance of Rhodesia's Children's Centre on the site of Hagenfield School. I was recently informed that a consultation is underway to shift services provided to our children and families into the school due to the difficulties engaging families to attend the Children's Centre. In reality, those services have been reduced over the last few years to a level which has left the Children's Centre with little to offer in terms of attracting families into the centre. Equipment has been removed, and there aren't even sufficient toys to offer a simple stay and play session for young children. This means that any consultation which is now undertaken will undoubtedly demonstrate that the centre is underused, because there is no good reason for families to wish to visit it. This is disingenuous, to say the least. I'd like to point out that we know that Rhodesia is one of the 3rd most deprived centiles in the country and bordering on the most deprived centiles according to the Index of Multiple Deprivation. For the children of young people in Rhodesia to have a fighting chance, early intervention services are crucial, and with many families not having any access to their own transport, these services have to be within walking distance. When services were at their best from this centre, they focused on the whole family and included antenatal care, in addition to providing help for parents seeking to get back into education and employment. But as money became tighter, these services have been stripped back one by one, deepening the inequality and deprivation and making this community feel time and time again that they've been forgotten. I would like to ask that alongside this consultation, this authority takes a long, hard look at what the actual needs of children, young people and their families is in Rhodesia, rather than simply shifting services away from those that need them most and trying to present a picture of improvement, because that simply does not reflect the realities for the young families who live in my area. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll now move on to item 6A, which is presentation of petitions. I have received 7 petitions by the deadline. May I remind members there is only 1 minute time limit for the presentation of each petition, and there is a maximum time of 15 minutes for this item. Councillor John Ogle.
Good morning, Chairman.
Good morning, John.
I've got a request from Ragnall residents. Ragnall residents request a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit through the rural village, just one road straight through, a couple of nasty bends, a few accidents, and total agreement among the parish council community that a 30-mile-per-hour restriction is needed. Among their justification is the fact that other villages around have the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, John. The second one is Councillor John Cotty, a petition opposing the removal of yellow lines from Selby Lane. Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning. Yes, this petition has been presented to me for the objection against removing the yellow lines on Selby Lane, where formerly there was a garage and bus area for storage of vehicles. So the residents would like to keep this, even though it did go forward. And I hereby present it to you and look forward to you presenting it back to me with all the other petitions probably later on. So thank you very much.
It will be one of my pleasures, John.
Thank you.
Councillor Roger Jackson has 2 petitions. First, in respect of speeding traffic between Southwell and Upton, and the second, a request for RO and reduced speed limit indicator on Station Road in Southwell. Would you like to start with, first of all, the speeding?
Yeah, morning, Chairman. Yes, thank you. I'd take them both together if that's all right with you, because they're both concern Southwell and the surrounding area. The first one is Upton Road, Newark Road, as you leave Southwell. There's been a number of accidents on that stretch of road going up towards what we call Galley Hill, and the residents live along there have had cars in their sort of verges and hedges, and are asking whether the 30-mile speed limit can be extended to cover that stretch of road leaving Southwell, to try and hopefully reduce the speed limit and reduce the amount of accidents they have on that stretch of road. And the second one is for Station Road in Southwell, which has a weight limit on it, but unfortunately there's no off-road parking on that stretch of road, and it still gets some very large vehicles going up and down it. And I think so a lot of the cars do get sort of the wing mirrors bashed, etc., because it's quite narrow when there's double parking on that road. And they're asking for just some more indications of whether to indicate that it's not suitable for heavy vehicles to pass up that road, and whether, you know, a interactive can be put up just to say warning people to slow down, because it is a narrow stretch of road for vehicles to go down. I think you've already received them, Chairman, so I will virtually hand them to you, and hope to receive a reply from the appropriate committee.
I virtually received them and give you great pleasure in giving them to Councillor Cotty.
Thank you.
Councillor Michael Payne, please.
Thank you.
Petition regarding the road safety outside Richard Bonington Primary School.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have here a petition for, on behalf of 862 local residents requesting an improvement to road safety measures outside Richard Bonington Primary School and along Kelverton Road on the approach to the school. Sadly, a young child was tragically hurt, a 3-year-old young child, on Thursday, the 15th of October, and residents, parents, pupils, and myself as the local county councillor and Councillor Allen are calling for urgent action to improve matters. May I just put on my record, Mr Chairman, a personal thank you to Councillor John Cotty, who from the outset has been very, very helpful after the accident took place, and also to the Chief Executive and Gary Wood. I very much appreciate Councillor Cotty's assistance on the matter, and looking forward to a positive outcome. So thank you, John.
Thank you, Councillor. Moving on now, please, to Councillor Liz Plant. It's a request for a pedestrian crossing on the Musters Road of West Bridgford.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yes, this is a petition signed by 326 residents asking for a safe crossing facility for parents and children at West Bridgford Infant School and the use of St George's Medical Centre to cross Musters Road near the junction of George Road safely. This is a wide, busy road at peak times with an advisory speed limit of 20 miles an hour, which is all too often ignored. Parked vehicles, often large delivery vans, on Musters Road considerably reduce the visibility for pedestrians to cross safely. I'm just going to read one of the many comments from parents on the petition. I have to cross this road twice a day with a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old and a baby. It is so dangerous as I have to walk out into the road to look past the parked cars to see if traffic is coming, and I'm petrified my children will run after me and be hit by a car. And there were many more like that. Recently, there has been a number of pedestrian crosses installed in other divisions in West Bridgford, and I hope that we can actually, Councillor Cotty and the committee will consider the installation of this pedestrian crossing in West Bridgford North. Thank you. Presumably you've got it, Chair.
I have it here. I'm waving it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Plant. And finally, I've got Councillor Rostance, and I have a copy of his petition. This is, Councillor Phil Rostance, and it's a request for speed cameras or safety measures on Nabs Lane at Hucknall.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And finishing off a full set for Councillor John Cotty, it appears, with these positions. I'm presenting a petition today on behalf of Leslie Commander, a local resident who has put this forward, and 300 other residents requesting speed cameras on Nabs Lane. It's an extremely busy stretch of road. It becomes increasingly more dangerous at school times, pick-up and drop-offs, again with lack of visibility and speeding traffic on the road. There's been several incidents of young children being hit by oncoming traffic, and they feel that a speed cameras or other kind of safety measures would help improve this for the children and the residents in the area. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I ask the Council to resolve that the petitions be referred to the appropriate committees for their consideration, and a report will be brought back to the Council in due course in accordance with the standing orders? Do I have that approval? Yes, thank you. Item 6B, which are in your papers. I move that the contents of the report and actions on petitions that have already been presented be approved and noted. And again, I would like a vote on show of hands for this one, please. So all those in favour? Thank you. That's approved. Item 7 then, please. I'm calling Councillor Richard Jackson, who will introduce the report and move the recommendations in the report.
Yes, thank you, Chairman, and good morning. This is the 6-month review of our Treasury Management activities to the end of September of this year. Members will see from the report that in the first half of the year, borrowing and investments have been in accordance with the approved limits as set in the Council's Treasury Management policies and strategies. Appendix A provides a detailed report on the Treasury Management activities. The main points to note, though, are that all Treasury Management activities have been undertaken by authorised officers within the limits agreed by Council. All investments were made to counterparties on the Council's approved lending list. £30 million of new borrowing has been raised since the start of the financial year, and 6.8 million of existing debt has been redeemed on maturity. The net increase, therefore, is 23.2 million. And over the 6-month period, the Council earned 0.17% on its short-term lending, compared with an average 7-day London interbank bid rate, which was effectively zero. So, Mr. Chairman, I formally move the recommendation, which is on page 2 of the report.
Thank you. I call upon Councillor John Ogle, who will second the motion.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm very happy to formally second this Treasury Management report, and I reserve the right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now put the open to speakers. I have 2 already. Councillor Pringle.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I firstly send my sincere sympathies to Councillor Dare at this time. I have a lot of respect for Reg and the terrible news for him and his family that they've received recently. Again, sincere sympathies go from myself and my family to them. Councillor Jackson, I can totally see where you're coming from in trying to present a picture of health and stability for this authority when, to be honest, if I was in your shoes, I'd be doing the same. And it's fair to say that you've had some recent handouts from government which have enabled you partially to present partial stability within this picture from on today. But the fact is that only a few months ago, you stated in FMC that you might struggle to present balanced budget, and you were frantically scrambling about for savings from every department in this authority. So yeah, we have had a plug for the gap, but we still have no guarantees. What used to be the revenue support grant has quietly dwindled and has now practically disappeared. Now being fronted by an apparent fair funding review, which alongside the Green Paper on social care has become part of a pantomime that seems to have become the norm for this government in funding local authorities like ours. So whilst we applaud the continued efforts of our financial team and the 151 officers, and that I totally get your attempts to paint a rosy picture, but with what we know and with what we're waiting to hear time after time from government, and again to follow the questions and concerns raised at MC, it would be irresponsible of this Labour group to support this paper. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Chair. Inevitable, and really this is a report that has to come to this committee once every so often because of the Treasury Management Policy and Strategy that comes in. Now, I've paid quite a bit of attention to the Treasury Management Policy and Statutory. Those of you who don't know, it's 13 pages long, has 12 policies. Every single policy is to do with fiduciary matters, as you wouldn't be surprised to find. What I am surprised to find, though, is there isn't a single policy that mentions ethical investment. Are we investing in carbon-producing companies? Are we investing in armaments companies? We don't know, and I think, quite honestly, as councillors, we should know that information. If we haven't got an ethical policy, then it's about time that we were working towards having one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hollis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will apologise that I can't seem to get my camera working for some reason, so I'll persist. I hope members can hear me okay. And firstly, before I make my comments, I just wanted to put on record my personal sadness and condolence to Councillor Adair. Every interaction I had with Alison, she always made a very friendly fuss of me and was always very friendly at all the events we had. And they clearly had a very good bond, and it's sad news to hear of her passing. But I do hope that Reg remembers some of the happier days like we all do. But Mr. Chairman, moving to my question, and I would fully agree with Councillor Carr's comments as well. But in paragraph 4 at the bottom of the page 1 of the report, it identifies 30 million of new borrowing that has been raised since the start of the financial year. Can the Chairman of Finance and Property Committee please state what this has been spent on? Further to this, can he confirm whether the total debt to the Public Works Loans Board and external debtors will be over £500 million next year, with the plans to borrow a further 28 million to pay for and spruce up new council premises? Would he agree with me that this council is drowning in debt? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. I haven't received any other indications of people wanting to speak. And if not, I'll ask Councillor Ogle if he wishes to use his comments before I go back to the Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to say that there was some concern earlier in the year regarding the finances, but the government have supported us, and in fact, we've never been in a better financial situation this year, and we can actually see the way forward. But I'll let Richard respond for me. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I thank colleagues for the questions. Councillor Pringle seems to confuse this with some sort of budget reports. Of course, the Treasury Management Report, as he knows. What I would say is that in response to his questions, however, he said he would be doing exactly the same if he was in my shoes. Well, he wouldn't, of course, because he and his group didn't support any of the three budgets that we've moved over the last 3.5 years that have got us to the stable position that we're in, having a sustainable budget position going forward. I look forward to February, and I look forward to any alternative budget that Councillor Pringle and his colleagues want to bring forward. But as I say, we haven't had anything significant from them in the past. We've no idea where they would be, but they wouldn't be where we are today. Councillor Carr asked about an ethical policy. You'll see in Appendix A on table in paragraph 1.6 the money management funds where the money is invested. I am more than happy to provide any policies that relate to the management of those money management funds. What I would say is, in the background, as I said in my introduction, in the background of practically a 0% interest rates, currently we've returned 0.17% interest. That's a significant improvement over the market, Chairman. And it's money that goes back into the bottom line of the council and contributes towards the running of our services. In response to Councillor Hollis, we are not drowning in debt, as we've said several times at the Finance and Major Contracts Committee. We have affordable and sustainable borrowing. Some of it historic, much of it historic actually, and some of it decades old. And as you well knows, there is the plan in place to manage the debt that the council has. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. The recommendations are found on item 8, that the council members approve the actions taken by the Section 151 officer to date as set out in the report. It is proposed and it's seconded, and I'm going to call now for a vote. But in order to make the vote clearer, that each agenda item where the vote is required, I'm going to ask the Chief Executive to read out members' names alphabetically in order for them to confirm whether they are voting or against, for, recommendations or abstaining. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, colleagues. I'm going to start with Councillor Pauline Allen.
Abstain.
Councillor Barnfather.
For.
Councillor Bosniak.
Abstain.
Councillor Bradley.
For.
Councillor Brooks.
Abstain.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Butler.
For.
Councillor Carr.
Against.
Councillor John Clark.
Abstain.
Councillor Neil Clark.
For.
Councillor Cotty.
For.
Councillor Creamer.
Abstain.
Councillor Cutts.
For.
Councillor Deakin.
Against.
Councillor Doddy.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor Fielding.
Abstain.
Councillor Fole.
Abstain.
Councillor Garner.
For.
Councillor Guilfoyle.
Abstain.
Councillor Girling.
For.
Councillor Greaves.
Abstain.
Councillor Handley.
For.
Councillor Harper.
For.
Councillor Henry. Councillor Errol Henry. I'll come back to you, Errol. Councillor Henshaw.
Abstain.
Councillor Hollis.
Against.
Councillor Hopewell.
For.
Councillor Richard Jackson.
For.
Councillor Roger Jackson.
For.
Councillor Kerry.
For.
Councillor Knight.
For.
Councillor Lawton.
For.
Councillor Longden.
For.
Councillor Madden.
Against.
Councillor Martin.
Against.
Councillor Meal.
Abstain.
Councillor Ogle.
For.
Councillor Owen.
For.
Councillor Payne.
Abstain.
Councillor Peck.
Abstain.
Councillor Place.
Abstain.
Councillor Plant.
Abstain.
Councillor Pringle.
Abstain.
Councillor Purdue Horan.
For.
Councillor Quigley.
For.
Councillor Rhodes.
Abstain.
Councillor Kevin Rostance.
For.
Councillor Phil Rostance.
For.
Councillor Saddington.
For.
Councillor Sissons.
For.
Councillor Smith. Councillor Helen Ann Smith. I'll come back to you, Helen. Councillor Taylor.
For.
Councillor Simbaridis. Councillor Parry Simbaridis. I'll come back to you, Parry. Councillor Vickers.
For.
Councillor Walker.
For.
Councillor Wallace.
For.
Councillor Weiss.
Abstain.
Councillor Wetton.
Abstain.
Councillor Gordon Wheeler.
For.
Councillor Jonathan Wheeler.
For.
Councillor Woodhead.
Abstain.
Councillor Wright.
For.
Councillor Zadrozny.
Against.
I'm going to come back to those colleagues who haven't yet recorded their vote. Councillor Simbaridis. Okay, thank you. Councillor Helen Ann Smith.
Against.
Thank you, Helen. And Councillor Errol Henry. Do we know where Errol is, Sarah, or colleagues from Democratic Services before I finish? He is. I'm just going to leave it another minute. Councillor Errol Henry. Okay, I'm very sorry. I'm sorry, Errol. I'm going to have to call it there. Just give me a moment to add those up, please, Chairman.
Councillor Henry is abstaining.
Okay, thank you for that. That's very helpful.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yep. Thank you. Thank you for waiting a moment, colleagues. The result of the vote is 35, against 7, abstentions 21. Therefore, the motion, the report is passed. Can I now move on, please, to item 8? Looking at my watch, it is getting towards 11:20, and I propose, therefore, to take lunch at 12:30, given the times that we have available. Item 8A is questions to Nottinghamshire and City of Nottingham Fire Authority. We have not had any. I'll then move on to item 8B, which is questions to the committee chairman. As set out into the Constitution, a maximum of 60 minutes is allowed for questions to committee chairman, after which any remaining questions will be received in a written response. I'd like to remind members that following the change in the Constitution, there will only be one supplementary question, which must be in the form, which must be from the member who asked the original question. The supplementary question should be on the same matter and should be in the form of a question, not a statement. There will be no adjournment debates. Question 1 is a question to Councillor Cutts from Councillor Jackson. Councillor Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. And can I say I am well aware that the Infrastructure Commission published its report, in fact, moments after I submitted this question, but I don't think there's a link there. I understand I have to read the question as submitted, however. So, given that the National Infrastructure Commission has not yet published the Integrated Rail Plan, and that any recommendation they make with regard to the HS2 Phase 2B Eastern Leg Line will be advisory pending a final decision by the Prime Minister and Secretary of State for Transport, is it fair to say at this stage that no decision has been made regarding the line?
Councillor Cutts.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Jackson, for your question. Submitted, of course, prior to the National Infrastructure Commission's Integrated Rail Plan being published on Tuesday. As you correctly state, the report is advisory in nature, setting out a range of packages to meet the rail needs across the Midlands and the North for ministers to consider. Members may recall the Oakervie Review, which was published at the start of the year and concluded that the Y-shaped network for HS2 was the right strategic answer to the country. However, the Oakervie Review also concluded that Phase 2B needed to be considered as part of the wider plan, including the Midlands Engine Rail and Midland Main Line and other large-scale rail projects. This has become known as the Integrated Rail Plan, the scope of which was specifically to consider how best to integrate these projects, reduce cost, and deliver the project as part of a wider national picture. The government has consistently stated that HS2, including the eastern leg, will be built in full. It's therefore somewhat disappointing that the NIC have only included the eastern leg and the Toton in the 2 packages out of the 5 as set out in the report. It's further disappointing that the NIC report fails to take into account the growth plans that partners in the region have developed over the last 4 years, which have unanimously been supported. Critically, the NIC report doesn't appear to explain whether the East Midlands would be any better or indeed any worse off under each of the proposed packages. You will note that other major considerations, such as the government's levelling up agenda or national ambitions for decarbonisation and the East Midlands Development Corporation, are beyond the scope of the plan and barely mentioned in the report, which is solely focused on the operational elements of these projects. These will, of course, have to be taken into consideration by the government when they make their final decision. From my own initial analysis of the report, it's quite clear that the packages proposed by the NIC will see the East Midlands become worse off, with fewer new quality jobs created in our economy, with limited increases in productivity and prosperity, and a less positive impact on the environment and carbon emissions, and less government investment that we so badly need. To stop the HS2 at the East Midlands Parkway is very expensive due to the topography, but perhaps more importantly, it is in the wrong place, and it's unlikely that Nottinghamshire County Council would support this proposal. Even before the NIC's review was undertaken, it was well known that the HS2 would be an expensive endeavour. However, given that the line will create 5 billion of growth in the region every year, I certainly don't think value for money comes into the question. The NIC report is clearly flawed, but will be considered alongside the Sir Alan Cook and the Oakervie reviews. The government will then publish its integrated rail plan, which will outline their policy response and decisions relating to the delivery of HS2. This is anticipated in the new year, so until that point, you are right to highlight that no final decision has been made regarding the line. In fact, the report references this directly, and I quote, "If the government wishes to take an adaptive approach to the integrated rail plan, they would need to consider with local stakeholders the best option for the main rail hub in the East Midlands, taking into account economic and regional opportunities, regeneration opportunities." It's clear, therefore, that Nottinghamshire County Council and its partners still have a major role to play in the finalisation of the rail plan. And we will continue to be passionate advocates of the HS2 and the transformational economic benefits it will bring to Nottinghamshire and the wider Midlands region and to the further north as well. And that's the north east, not the northwest I'm referring to. Though I know that Councillor Rhodes is often keen to quote me out of context, Alan, I have already been lobbying loudly for Nottinghamshire's stake in this project. I have met and corresponded with various members of government, Grant Shapps, for example. I've given evidence to Sir John Armitt, Chairman of the Commission, and I've spoken to the Secretary of State, Andrew Stevens, who's Minister for this line, at length on several times, probably 4 or 5 meetings together with colleagues along the further length of the line, including Leeds and Sheffield. And the Prime Minister to demonstrate the importance of the infrastructure projects that are the future for our country and the East Midlands as a whole. I continue to work with partners locally and nationally to impress upon the Prime Minister and the Secretaries of State for Transport and Housing, Communities and Local Government the importance of HS2 to the region. We recognise its value in levelling up our economy, as well as other economies that are along the eastern route, and continue to make the case out to government. This administration will not sit by and let Nottinghamshire miss out on its fair share. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Cutts. Before I go back to Councillor Jackson, I note that Councillor Rhodes, you've put your hand up. Are you asking for clarification or to respond to the statement, etc.?
I want to respond, if I may, and request the right to reply. I know that this is not a forum for debate, but since Kay did mention me in passing, I think I need to make it clear that I've consistently, both as Leader of the Council and Leader of the Opposition, supported the rollout of HS2. In fact, it was under my leadership that Towton was identified as the regional hub for HS2, and I think I made it clear at a very recent meeting, I think it was policy, that we continue to support this council and the leaders' efforts to bring HS2 right up in full through the county and into Yorkshire and beyond. And so I don't want there to be any misunderstanding about that, but I stand by a comment I recently made that if the government decide to terminate HS2 B, as it's now been called, at East Midlands Parkway and go no further, then their talk of levelling up was nothing more than an election winning lie.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Before you move on, Chairman, can I say I fully accept Alan's absolute support for this and other colleagues as well, and he's right to point that out. It is I only referred to Alan where it was being misquoted.
Thank you. Thank you. On that moment, we'll move forward. Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I mean, I welcome the leader's reassurance that the council is fully behind this. I welcome Councillor Rhodes' comments that he's fully behind it, and I think we've got to keep the lobby up. And I would just suggest using language like this being an election-winning lie isn't helpful when we're going to lobby government about an incredibly serious issue. So let's get behind this and let's keep the daft politics out of it and get HS2 delivered to Tone and beyond. Thank you, Chairman.
It will be a political decision, Chair. Let's not be any doubt about that.
Thank you. We'll move now on to question 2, which is from Councillor Rhodes in respect of the allocations of the LIS funding, with a response from Councillor Cotty to reply. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Chairman. Does the Chair of Communities in Place believe that the LIS funding has been devolved equitably when 70% of this year's allocations were awarded to applications supported by Conservative members?
Thank you. Councillor Cotty.
Thank you, Chairman. Could I ask Councillor John Handley, my Vice Chairman, has dealt with all the LIS. He's worked with officers to go through each application. Would you mind if I ask him to respond on my behalf to Councillor Rhodes, please?
Thank you. Councillor Handley.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, Councillor Rhodes, for your question. The short answer to your question is yes. And I suppose I could sit down now and say that, but obviously there needs to be an explanation. The Local Improvement Scheme funding has been devolved equitably in accordance with the published criteria, also taking into account the likelihood and practicalities of projects being completed in the current highly challenging circumstances caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Local Improvement Scheme is a member-led initiative where bidders are expected to contact and seek the consent, support and signature of their local councillors or councillors for their application. Almost 70% of the applications to this round of LIS were sponsored by Conservative and Mansfield Independent Group, who represent 55% of the council, in comparison with the Labour Group councillors making 33% of the council, but sponsoring only 18% of the LIS bids. Given these proportions to bids coming in for assessment, it is unsurprising that the bids sponsored by the Conservative and Mansfield Independent Group councillors formed a comparatively large percentage of the approved allocations. There is no limit except a time deadline on how many bids can be made to the Local Improvement Scheme, and I'm certainly not going to be deterring members of any group from sponsoring applications just in case members of another group may be less active in doing so. Whatever the total number of bids received, each application is considered on its merits against the criteria and recommendations are then made to the Community in Place Committee. Most of the applications recommended for funding through this year's LIS were approved at the November meeting of Community in Place Committee, where it was stated that a small number of bids were undergoing further analysis. The outcome of this work saw a further 27 applications approved by committee in December. In determining which applications are recommended for approval, a robust assessment process is undertaken to ensure that the applications meet the criteria. Applications are assessed, moderated and reviewed by officers to help the committee with its decisions. And I'd like to just say here, a thank you to the office for all the hard work that they put in on the LIS scheme. Support is given to applications when requested to help them understand the process and to make the best possible case for their projects. The LIS criteria stated that applicants were encouraged to secure at least 50% of required funding from other sources known as matched funding. Given the reality of the financial and practical circumstances in which approved bids would have to be delivered, a high weighting was given during the assessment process to bids that not only promised good share of match funding, but already had the funding in place. In the case of applications where a significant amount of promised match funding was unsecure, it was considered that the ongoing COVID lockdown measures could significantly impair the ability of those applicants to raise match funding in the time It was therefore considered appropriate at this time not to commit public money to bids that appeared to be some way of being shovel-ready at a high risk of not being completed, even with the lengthened timeframe for the 2021 scheme. The bids recommended for approval, therefore, tended to be those that met the criteria and already had a significant amount of match funding secure. I'm delighted to report that the 2021 Local Improvement Scheme will be delivering more than £680,000 of funding to local projects at a time when other councils are not offering any such discretionary funding. This is a success story that we should all be proud of. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Martin, your hand is up. Again, can I ask, are you asking for clarification?
Yes, Chair. Point of clarification.
Your clarification is what, please?
At the recent Communities and Place Committee, Councillor Cotty said that the LIS funding wasn't member-led, and yet John Handley has just said that it was led by the Conservative and Mansfield Independent Group. Basically, I do have a supplementary question as well, if you can ask one.
You can't have, I'm sorry, the rules don't allow you to have a supplementary. The only person who will, it'll be Councillor Rhodes. Well, you've made the point regarding the leading. That can probably be dealt with in any response that Mr. Handley, Councillor Handley may wish to make after Councillor Rhodes has asked any question. Yeah. Do you have a supplementary question, please, Councillor Rhodes?
I do, Chair. Thank you very much, and thank you to Councillor John Handley for his response. Chair, in this current climate, we've got people losing their jobs and losing their livelihoods. We've also heard this morning from Councillor Fielding about a further removal of early intervention services in one of the most deprived parts of our county. I'm not sure how you think some of these awards to tennis and cricket clubs in arguably far more affluent areas play out in the public's perception. Doesn't Councillor Handley agree with me that it's now apparent that the LIS scheme is overdue for review to reassess its aims?
Thank you. Councillor Handley.
Thank you, and thank you for your supplementary question, Councillor Rhodes. And at the committee meeting in December, one of your colleagues raised that question. I totally agree with him. We need to look at the criteria, because I think some of the groups that the LIS funding was set up to support are missing out. So I think if LIS does come back in some format next year, I think the criteria needs, to be reviewed seriously.
Thank you very much, Chairman, for a very considered response.
Thank you.
Could I just answer Councillor Martin?
You can.
Chairman? In terms of member-led, what I meant in my statement about member-led is that the fact that the bids are supported by local members from the groups who approach local members for their support. It's not about the bids being led as a political sort of thing. It's about supporting those groups who need support to put in an appropriate bid.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to question 3, which is from Councillor Plant concerning technology to access online learning, with a response from Councillor Owen to reply. Councillor Plant.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yes. Can the Chair of the Children and Young People Committee assure members that all pupils in Nottinghamshire maintained schools have the appropriate technology to access online learning when the need arises? Thank you.
Councillor Owen.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. And can I thank Councillor Plant for her question? The government has put in place several mechanisms to support head teachers to ensure there are sufficient IT devices for those children who may require them. Due to the nature of the governance arrangements of academies and maintained schools, the Council does not monitor uptake of IT devices in school. However, head teachers and governing bodies remain committed to ensuring access to education when children are learning at home. It should be noted that even when devices are...
Parry, till 8.
Sorry, Chairman. Do you want me to continue, Chairman?
My apologies.
Right. It should be noted that even when devices are offered, some parents are still requesting access to paper-based resources. There have been and remain a number of schemes to provide laptops and internet access to children and young people during the COVID-19 pandemic. Some of these have been delivered via the Department for Education, and others have been private enterprises. If I can just illustrate some of the ways in which this has been done. DFE laptops for children and young people with a social worker. Now, the DFE provided local authorities with laptop devices to distribute to children and young people with a social worker and care leavers who did not have access to their own device. Nottinghamshire's were delivered from June 2020 and were distributed either directly to the children and young people or via their school. Care leavers were given the device rather than loaned, as allowed in the DFE guidance. Tablets were provided to children under the age of 5. To date, 1,300 devices under this scheme have been allocated, 65 routers and 99 tablets to children under 5. The council continues to distribute these devices as children and young people come into care. These devices are not only to support education, but also to facilitate communication with social workers and, in the case of care leavers, to support them in seeking work and/or undertaking further study. In relation to the DFE provision of routers to access the internet, it should be noted that this lasts until July 2021. Laptops have also been provided for pupils in Year 10. Laptops for multi-academy trusts were delivered directly to academies, and therefore the council does not know how many were either ordered or secured. Regarding the one secondary school for which this local authority did order, that is the one maintained secondary school, the head teacher requested 18 devices and 4 routers, and these were secured and delivered to that particular school. Now, DFE laptops for pupils age 7+, where education has been disrupted. Since the start of the autumn term 2020, the DFE has provided laptops to schools when face-to-face education has been disrupted, such as when a group or bubble are required to isolate due to a COVID contact within the school or as a result of a school closure due to COVID. Nottinghamshire's maintained schools ordered the devices themselves, but the County Council can view the allocation for each school. The allocation was changed due to global demand for devices. However, it has now increased again, meaning many schools may have ordered some, but not all of their allocation to date. The DFE spreadsheet suggests that Nottinghamshire maintained schools can order up to 2,596 devices. 156 maintained schools have been identified by the DFE to order devices when bubbles are self-isolating or in the case of a school closure. To date, 65 maintained schools have ordered at least part of their allocation. Multi-academy trusts are responsible for ordering their devices directly from the DFE, and therefore the County Council does not know how many devices have either been ordered or allocated. It should be noted that all head teachers can continue to order devices should they be required. And lastly, Nottinghamshire Libraries have been assisting in this, and on behalf of the Communities and Place Committee Chairman, I can also add that following the easing of the first lockdown early in July, all Nottinghamshire Libraries provided access to its public computers via a booking system. At the implementation of the second lockdown in November, libraries were allowed within the restrictions to provide essential access to computers, which was provided at 9 of our libraries via a booking system. Since coming out of the second lockdown on the 2nd of December, all libraries are offering access to computing again. Inspire Learning study programmes are providing young people with laptops where required to undertake their courses. Thank you very much, Chairman.
I can't hear.
That's the problem when you mute, you suddenly forget you've done so. Do you have a supplementary, please, Councillor Plant?
Yes, I do, Chair. Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Owen, for that most comprehensive response. I'm sure it would have been of interest, not just to members, but also for any of the wider public who are listening. As Councillor Owen has said, the government introduced in the summer a number of measures, including the DfE's scheme of free laptops for our most disadvantaged pupils and the National Tutoring Programme to mitigate against the widening of the attainment gap. How will Councillor Owen, as chair of the Children and Young People's Committee, assess the effectiveness of these measures and ensure that our disadvantaged pupils really do catch up and that COVID-19 does not permanently impact on their life chances going forward? Thank you.
Councillor Owen.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Assessment of the success or otherwise of any catch-up programme and the effectiveness of the laptop scheme will, of course, be monitored by schools, who will be able to report to their governing bodies on any particular issues over disadvantaged children who may be falling down. At the end of the day, there will be assessments through national examinations, and we shall be able to monitor the progress at that point. But clearly, we would hope that schools who are on the front line of all of this will be monitoring very closely to ensure that they can put in place any remedial teaching, any remedial work, any remedial catch-up material that they need to deliver to these pupils as part of the government's catch-up programme. And I have every confidence that our schools will do that very, very effectively.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Moving to question 4, this is from Councillor Pringle about long-term financial planning, with Councillor Richard Jackson answering to it. Councillor Pringle.
Thank you, Chairman. Can the Chair of Finance and Major Contracts please explain how this authority can comprehensively plan for the long-term sustainability of the vital services it provides to our residents, when in actual fact this government has repeatedly failed to deliver any guarantees on future funding structures and instead insists on sporadically plugging the gap with temporary sticking plasters?
Thank you. Councillor Jackson, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I thank Councillor Pringle for his question. I don't know whether he thought through the implications of using the word comprehensively in the present context. It does strike me as rather naive. However, I doubt there's a government in the world, let alone a council in this country, that can claim to have a comprehensive plan for the future at present. Yes, the nature of the COVID pandemic requires administrators to be proactive wherever they can, but there's also a degree to which local and central government is having to react and adapt to changing circumstances. So the notion of comprehensive planning in the literal sense is pretty unrealistic at the moment. What I can say, however, is that the Nottinghamshire County Council is in a better place to plan for our long-term sustainability than most other local authorities. This is due to the ongoing pandemic. No councils are in the position they would ideally wish to be, but Nottinghamshire is in a relatively good position thanks to our efforts and help from the government. For example, the important, sometimes difficult decisions that we've taken in previous years to streamline and modernise our services delivered savings which amounted to £300 million over the past decade, putting this council into very good financial shape, as acknowledged by our peers in the recent LGA peer review. Now, this meant that we're in a strong financial position, stronger than most going into the pandemic, and it will emerge from this crisis still well ahead of many other local authorities. Not that this is a competition, of course, but it means our residents will see less disruption to their services during and after COVID than those elsewhere. We are in constant dialogue with government and all 8 Conservative Nottinghamshire MPs, and we've lobbied successfully for funding. The result being that we have levered in £80.2 million of additional funding to keep the people of Nottinghamshire safe during the pandemic. Despite the challenges of the pandemic, we're still delivering £7 million of planned budget savings this year, which is only £800,000 short of the target set in very, very different circumstances back in February. And I think this is a remarkable effort by officers which should be commended. Basically, Chairman, for the past 4 years, the Conservative and Mansfield Independent administration has rolled up its sleeves and got on with the job despite facing ever more difficult circumstances. We've been helped greatly by the foresight we showed in the past to prepare for rainy days such as the COVID crisis, and by the government in the form of our 4 tranches of non-specific COVID grant funding and several other specific COVID-related grants. I can admit that there was a time during the summer when we questioned whether sufficient support would be forthcoming from a national level, but the cavalry did arrive, and it means we are on course to balance our COVID revised books this financial year. It also means that we'll be able to propose a balanced budget for the year 2021-2022, after which the next council administration, which I intend to be Conservative, of course, will have to decide how it wishes to maintain this relative economic stability in uncertain times. People of Nottinghamshire could, of course, take a risk on Labour administration, but look at our neighbours in Nottingham provides a stark warning of what a Labour administration can do to a council's ability to deliver the sustainable services which Councillor Pringle claims to care so much about. In fact, Councillor Pringle has something of a nerve expressing concerns about sustainability when he and his group vehemently opposed the formation of a unitary authority for Nottinghamshire, which would release at least £27 million a year to sustain and improve local services at no additional cost to the taxpayer. As Councillor Pringle seems to attribute a great significance to the word comprehensively, I look forward to his comprehensive alternative budget next February, which should set out how Labour intends to fund the hitherto unsubstantiated promises that they love to make. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Pringle, do you have a supplementary?
Please, Chairman, and I appreciate Councillor Jackson looking forward to any budget. Obviously, he is excited because he stuttered towards the end. However, surely, Councillor Jackson, as the Chairman of Finance, you will agree that any lobbying over the past 4 years to government by yourselves has provided nothing other than a generalisation of sticking plaster funding and short-term responsive reactions. Once again, I ask you, and in fact, I asked the whole council, and I appreciate you rolling your sleeves up, and let's hope that they are rolled up for this next one. I asked the council that we should seek a stronger approach to debate with government. After all, we've seen the failed restructure attempt for Nottinghamshire, what looks like a complete failure for HS2 for Nottinghamshire, and in particular Towton and the land purchases around there, and an ever-growing void between Nottinghamshire being bottom of any government investment table to what may well be seen as relegation into a lower league.
Councillor's becoming a statement rather than a question.
I've asked a question to start. The question was in my initial sentence, Chairman. You really should be listening.
I did listen to it, and the statement is becoming a statement, please. So can you ask the question?
Government to understand the need for substantial long-term financial support, which the residents of Nottinghamshire deserve. No more sticking plasters. After nearly 4 years, it's time for you to up your game for Nottinghamshire, Richard. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson. You're muted.
Thank you, Chairman. I have to say it's impossible to up your game when you were at the top of your game. This administration has constantly been lobbying government ministers and government officials. Our idea of lobbying is different to the Labour Party's idea of lobbying, which is usually to take a petition and stand on Parliament Square, have your photograph taken with Big Ben in the background and tweet it and put it on Facebook. we roll our sleeves up and talk seriously to government ministers. We have a fantastic chief finance officer who's well connected with his colleagues around the country and has the ear of government officials. He lobbies constantly for the county council. We have a great chief executive who chairs the chief executives grouping nationally and is constantly in contact with ministers and officials and has the ear of government at the highest level. We never miss an opportunity to talk seriously to government ministers, to get into the detail. Back in the summer, I walked the Secretary of State through the finances of the county and consequently with colleagues, we then found significant additional COVID funding coming through. I think it's perfectly understandable that what we would have seen as a comprehensive spending review by central government this year is on hold. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Government has spent £300 billion in the last 9 months on fighting COVID. I think expecting for there to be a comprehensive spending review and us to have a 3-year settlement against that backdrop is naive, to say the very least. Government is fighting this pandemic, but I'm confident from all of the mood music that we get from ministers and officials that they do understand the needs of local government and the needs of counties in particular, and that when we do see a comprehensive spending review this time next year, that we'll see that we've been listened to and that our lobbying has been successful. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll move on then to question number 5, which is from Councillor Kerry regarding the link road connecting Humber Road South to Thane Road. Councillor Cotty to reply. Councillor Kerry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question to the Chairman of Communities and Place Committee. Would the Chairman of the Communities and Place Committee give his understanding of the reasons for the apparent delay in opening the new link road connecting Humber Road South on the western side of the boot site to Thane Road on the eastern side via the new bridge over Beeston Canal? Around £5 million of public money from D2N2's Growing Places Fund has been contributed towards capital works within the Boots campus, along with some city council funding, and concerned residents are rightly asking when this new road will open, given that it appears to have been completed for some time.
Thank you. Councillor Cotty.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Kerry, for your question, which I'm sure is of interest to many residents in Beeston, Chilwell, Attenborough, and a few more areas around those communities as well. The construction of the new link road is substantially complete and in the final legal agreements of being prepared. The contractor's contract was signed by the City Council on the 9th of December, this December, and Nottinghamshire County Council are not party to this contract, but have confirmed to the City Council in writing that we are happy for the road to become live. Prior to the road being open to the public, the necessary legal agreements must be completed, and these are currently being drafted and will be passed to the City Council this week, before the week's out, and to Boots for signing by the end of this week. And once all parties have signed those agreements, there should be no encumbrance from the County Council's standpoint to the road being fully open to the public. Council officers have worked hard to bring forward the opening of the road, but this was not a Nottinghamshire County Council project, and therefore we're not responsible for any delays in the project. I'm sure we will all welcome this road opening soon. So thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Kerry.
Thank you, Councillor Cotty. Before I go back to Councillor Kerry, Councillor Fole, you've put your hand up. Is this a question you're asking, or is this a clarification?
It's a clarification, I believe, Chairman.
Clarification of what?
Okay, I just wonder why Councillor Kerry is asking this question when actually the road in question is in my division. I mean, if he could walk down the corridor and ask his colleague John Cotty what the hold-up was, he could have asked me. I've been working on this for months with officers, and I've had endless kind of residents' questions about it that I've responded to. I think it would have been courteous if at least he discussed it with me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Councillor Kerry, do you have a supplementary?
I don't have a supplementary, but I'll respond to Councillor Fall.
No.
I too have had residents that are asking me about it, so I'm
Councillor
quite
Kerry,
clearly
Councillor Kerry.
I'm proactive.
Councillor Kerry, can we stick with the question? You're going off the question. Thank you very much. I'm going to move forward now on to question number 6, which is from Councillor Greaves regarding spending on improving the county road network, with Councillor Cotty to reply. So, Councillor Greaves.
Thank you, Chairman. Having made a commitment to residents at the start of this administration to improve roads across the county, which require a 20 million diversion of funds from the development of extra care for the elderly and vulnerable residents, could Councillor Cotter please inform members exactly how much this administration have spent on improving roads in the county since they took office in 2017? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Cotty to reply.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Greaves, for your question. I can confirm the actual highways capital expenditure has been over £95 million since 2017, when Department for Transport funding and additional investments from the County Council are all taken into account. This did not come at the expense of capital investment elsewhere in the Council, contrary to the suggestion in Councillor Greaves' question, and in view of Labour's previously botched attempts to deflect attention away from the mismanagement of extra care programme, Councillor Greaves would probably be best advised not to go there, even though he always has to start somewhere. Under the Conservative and Mansfield Independent administration since 2017, in addition to significantly increasing our maintenance and improved works, we've also invested in innovative new technology, for example, in the new spray injection patching machinery and plant that goes with it. And we have also made it easier for the public to report highways issues and track their resolution through the MyNots app. Our focus has been and continues to be on carrying out the right repair at the right time, and our substantial investment means that we have begun to tackle the substantial backlog of repairs that's accumulated over many years, especially on the local road network. Along the way, we've faced some exceptional challenges which have put our network under pressure, including intense storms and resulting flooding caused by the beast from the east and other more recent events. Of course, the COVID pandemic this year has presented us with real workforce and supply chain challenges. Even so, substantial volumes of work have been completed over the last 4 years, with over 1,150 schemes delivered on the local road network, which is of so much importance to our residents. If Councillor Greaves believes money should be invested differently or work carried out differently, then he has the opportunity to set out chapter and verse in an alternative budget and presentation at the next full council meeting. And like Councillor Jackson, I look forward to that coming. Thank you, Chairman.
Yep. Sorry, I forgot about that. Councillor Greaves, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Cotter, for your answer. With such a significant amount of money being spent, could the Chairman please inform residents of what systems are in place around quality assurance to ensure the quality and sustainability of the said improvements and provide guarantees to residents that this authority is getting value for money with such a significant investment, and in the view UK of Nottinghamshire having the worst roads in the UK. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Cotty.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yes, I can tell you that we are always looking at the conditions of the roads and the repairs that we do. And because of the large number of repairs, We did inherit over many years. I know that there was one member of the Labour group at a previous meeting that said roads deteriorate in about 5 years. Well, actually, the road outside my house has been there for about 63 years and it's still not been resurfaced. So I actually can believe that I've inherited a lot of the problem. As for value for money, we always get value for money, but with the extra spend, we've had to use VIA, and VIA have then had to use outside contractors. So the odd occasion, in £95 million worth of works, we get the odd problem. The reason that we're probably at the bottom of the UK survey on roads is quite simple. We're quite open and transparent. This administration has gone out of its way to ensure that members of the public can report potholes, that we get it online, we get it through the call centres, you get it through the members. So I can quite happily back up our staff and our team for delivering an excellent service, which this county has never seen. And also, you will remember, Councillor Greaves, because you were in the meeting when we did the permit scheme, we inherited actually in 2017, one inspector. That's how concerned you were. And actually, we've got 6 now. That's through the permit scheme. And we do go out regularly checking. But I have to admit that occasionally it's usually a subcontractor where we have an issue with. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm moving on now to question number 7. It's from Councillor Drodsny concerning the enhanced testing support programmes, with Councillor Cutts to respond. Councillor Drodsny.
Thank you, Chair. It was recently announced that 67 local authorities can begin enhanced testing support programmes to drive down COVID-19 transmission rates. Does the leader know why Nottinghamshire is not included?
Thank you. Councillor Cutts.
Thank you, Jason, for your question. Lateral flow tests are used in a variety of initiatives, including the community testing to which you refer. However, this is just one of the several initiatives which the government has announced in recent weeks, including care home testing, student testing, and testing of staff and students in schools. The advice of the Director of Public Health is that exploring the potential of such testing should not be prioritised at the expense of the existing work on outbreak control and local test and trace arrangements, as these measures deliver the greatest benefits in terms of reducing transmission and creating the right conditions to relax control measures, and as such have maintained our focus on outbreak control, symptomatic testing, contact tracing, and securing our care homes. As lateral flow tests are so new, details are still emerging regarding their impact on transmission, community engagement, and the required operational and clinical capacity. Nevertheless, I am pleased to report that a programme director has been recruited to develop the plan for the deployment of the targeted community testing in Nottinghamshire, and the plan will be brought to Councillor Knight's committee and will address these needs. How best to deploy testing in neighbourhoods with the greatest need, how best to ensure the vulnerable groups received timely access to testing, and how best to work with employees to pilot routine testing of the workforce. In advance of this report, the Director of Public Health is working with the regional team of Contain programme to submit an expression of interest to access government support. Until then, he will work with the regional team and with the local resilience forum partners to incorporate the learning which emerges from other pilots. I'm sure we all welcome the news that the rollout of the world's first vaccine is already underway here in the United Kingdom. And though we all need to remain vigilant and maintain the hands, face, space measures to keep ourselves and our families safe, we can approach Christmas with a very real prospect that in 2021, the protection provided to the most vulnerable to the coronavirus will be strengthened as the vaccine is rolled out. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Drodsny, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the leader for that answer. It was an issue that we raised in the COVID resilience committee last week about the same issue and had a presentation on it from the Director of Public Health for Nottinghamshire, who expressed the same sentiments that you have. I think members who are following the news currently will know that we've been announced that Nottinghamshire is remaining in Tier 3, sadly. And I fear that there is a strong view from the Director of Public Health in Nottinghamshire that has not included this testing, which may have brought us down into Tier 2. It seems the government have kept a lot in Tier 3 and in fact moved many more. But given his view on the Tier 3 plus element, which was announced for Nottinghamshire when we went in the beginning of December, and also on this, does the leader agree that perhaps there's some work we can do with the Director of Public Health for Nottinghamshire to try and encourage him to ask for more of this testing across our county so that we can really try and bring the figures down? And with your indulgence, Mr. Chairman, one of my residents, Ashfield Comprehensive School, is in my division. It's one of the largest schools in Europe. And I've got some young people now who are, in all of November and December, have had 5 days learning because they're continually having to re-isolate if a new child gets COVID. And I think it's one of the tools, lateral flow testing, that could really help the economics and the education and many other things. And I'm just wondering, Leader, if you agree that there's some work to do with Mr. Gribben about what we could perhaps do to bring this testing forward to Nottinghamshire so that we can get moving as fast as we can. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Cutts.
Well, as we are appointing a personnel to deal with this matter, I think that the Director of Public Health has been very assiduous in this matter. It's also really important, as you highlight, that we continue to roll out the testing and tracing for students and schools, particularly older children in schools. And that isn't just lateral flow testing, because part of the problem has been it's produced quite a lot of negatives when there have been positives. When there has been negatives, produce positives, so that's not been really helpful. So it's really important we do start to work with government as how we roll this out and to make quite sure that it is effective, because you can do things, but it has no effect whatsoever. You'll achieve absolutely nothing. I have to say, I do think some of the street markets which have been held around the county have actually added to the problem of how people have been catching the virus and see our numbers going up slightly, which I'm very disappointed about. And I think it's really important that all of our councils, and that includes our district councils, remember we are in Tier 3 and social distancing is really important. And we all of us keep the message hands, face, space in our minds. And for Christmas, I hope that we are able to enjoy Christmas with our families. But we've all seen that the rise of the virus across the country as well. So I think the lateral flow testing system is one more tool in the armoury, but by no means the main tool to use. We shall certainly be deploying it in the new year. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Question number 8 is from Councillor John Peck concerning the support of schools regarding track and trace. Councillor Owen to reply. Councillor Peck.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. What arrangements do we have in place as an authority to support schools over the Christmas period, in particular with their obligations to fulfil track and trace requirements?
Councillor Owen.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. And can I thank Councillor Peck for his question. The local authority will provide support for head teachers during the Christmas break. For the week of the 21st to the 24th of December, a phone number to a senior officer is being created, which can be used if there is any uncertainty about a complex COVID case, or if there has been difficulty in contacting the National Department for Education or Public Health England telephone lines. This number is for use by head teachers or their senior officer. It will be operational only between the 21st and the 24th of December, and again on the 2nd and 3rd of January, as schools prepare to return to school on the 4th of January 2021. A small number of local authorities may be considering the creation of a centralised contact number within their council to be used by the parents of children attending maintained schools. We looked at this possibility ourselves, but concluded that there is little direct benefit to the head teacher of a centralised golden number for parents. This is because head teachers would still have to undertake the tracing aspect of the call between the 18th and the 24th of December to identify which children and adults need to self-isolate. And from a public health context, having a centralised parent number is likely to further slow the process of identifying those children or adults who need to self-isolate, because it simply introduces another communication layer which is new to parents. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you,
Councillor Beck, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do. Yes. Thank you, Councillor Owen. Well, I'm glad at least they're not on. Head teachers are not on call on Christmas Day. Could the chairman of the CYP committee let the meeting know whether he has any concerns about how schools might cope with the Secretary of State's announcements about testing in schools being rolled out during the early new year, and providing testing kits to schools without trained staff to use them, it would appear, would be placing a significant pressure on head teachers and their staff, who already are under immense strain and have been from the start of this pandemic. I'd be interested to hear your views, Chairman.
Yes, thank you, Chairman, for that. The training of staff to use the test and trace facilities will be important. And clearly, there are always going to be concerns when something new is being rolled out. But we are in that sort of situation, and have been for some time now, where we've had to, in many ways, learn as we go along. But the County Council will be here to support, particularly its public health function, will be here to support head teachers who feel that they need to have additional training and information and guidance on how to conduct the tests if and when they are rolled out in the new year. But I think it's important that we try and do everything that we can to ensure that the education of children is disrupted to as minimum a level as possible. And I have not the slightest doubt that head teachers and teachers in our county schools will yet again rise to the occasion and overcome any particular obstacles that they may be faced with.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to take the last question, which will be Councillor Martin, in respect of his green paper and social care. That will take us over the hour, but because it's Christmas, I'm being generous with you. So, Councillor Martin, if you can be to the point.
Thank you, Chair. Councils face an adult social care overspend of £468 million this year, as COVID-19 has triggered deepening needs relating to safeguarding, domestic abuse, carer breakdown and hospital discharge. Does the Chairman agree with me that the publication of the Green Paper on adult health and social care is increasingly urgent? And does he share my view that the overspend is this council's biggest ticking time bomb?
Councillor Harper, please, to respond.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Martin, for your question. I refer you to the answer I gave on this subject at the previous full council meeting on the 15th of October 2020, where I explained in some detail my frustration about the ongoing wait for the adult social care Green Paper. I criticised the role that successive governments and opposition parties have played in avoiding, delaying or undermining a much needed mature conversation with the public about a sustainable approach to funding social care. I am aware of the survey by the Association of Directors of Adult Social Services, ADAS, claiming that councils face an adult social care overspend of £468 million this year due to COVID-19. I cannot verify that figure, which perhaps needs to be viewed in the context that it was released just ahead of the government's spending review, when all groups lobbying for more funding tend to feed the media with such claims. I can, however, confirm that the Nottinghamshire County Council's Adult Social Care and Public Health Department is quite remarkably still on course to meet its revised budget target of 212,785 by the end of the year, as reported at this month's Finance and Major Contracts Management Committee. The revised budget target incorporates the additional 47.1 million in COVID grant allocation received from the government in order to give an accurate indication of the department's performance with the effects and costs of dealing with the COVID pandemic. Thanks to the efforts of our directors, senior managers, social care teams, this council is managing to deliver the services required and balance its books in exceptional circumstances. However, I agree with the thrust of Councillor Martin's question that we cannot continue to perform these financial gymnastics indefinitely, which I said at the last meeting. Regardless of whether 468 million figure quoted by ADAS is accurate or not, the ongoing lack of clarity around a sustainable long-term solution to funding social care is certainly a ticking time bomb for all councils with primary responsibility for social care. We need urgent progress on this, which will require all parties at national level to work together constructively. One part of that practical solution would of course be a unitary authority for Nottinghamshire, which would release at least £27 million extra each year to spend on services such as adult social care without putting additional pressure on local or national taxpayers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, well, the long-term outlook remains unclear, and there remains a desperate need to find a long-term solution for future care and support. Public finances will undoubtedly be under a huge strain in the years ahead, but investment in our public services is critical to our national recovery next year and beyond. Only with the right funding and freedoms can councils lead these efforts to level up stark inequalities the pandemic has recently exposed, and the level up economy so it benefits everyone. And as I said in my question, Mr. Chairman, the social care overspend is the council's biggest ticking time bomb. It's a fact that this council spends more on social care than it raises in council tax, and a unitary authority would not answer the question because the district and borough councils perform a completely different task to the county council. So that's a myth.
Councillor, can I say that you're drifting off the question, please?
You've allowed Councillor Harper to extol the virtues of unitary authority, but you cut me short. Thank you. Can he assure me that he and the council will continue to push the government to finally publish the green paper on social care so that we can get to grips not only with this council's finances, but those across the country? That's all I'm asking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harper.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I seem to have stated this on so many occasions, yet I still keep being asked the same question. And I've stated all the people I've lobbied, the government ministers, all sorts of people to get this funding. I've spoke at national conferences. I am always, with any opportunity, as people will know, always lobbying to get this funding sorted out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'm now going to complete that completes the time. Questions number 10 from Councillor Madden, 11 from Councillor Fielding, 12 from Councillor Pringle, second question, and 13 from Councillor Hollis will be dealt with by correspondence. I'm now going to take a break and I want to come back, please, for if you could be till 1 p.m. That would be given the fact that we have quite a number of motions to discuss if you wish to get those in before 5:30. Thank you. If you'd all then put your mute on, and then if you're closing down.
This winter, more than ever, with COVID-19 still circulating, we need help to reduce all avoidable risks. You can help protect the NHS, social care and loved ones by getting the flu vaccine. You may be eligible for the free vaccine at your GP or local pharmacy if you are over 65, pregnant or have a long-term condition. Find out if you are eligible at nhs.uk/stay well. Children up to year 7 can get the free nasal spray at school or through their GP if they are below school age. If you are not eligible for the free vaccine, you can pay for it at your local pharmacy. The flu vaccination does not give you flu. It reduces the risk of catching flu as well as spreading it to others. If you had the vaccination in the past, that will not protect you as the flu strain changes every year, so you need to have a new one this year. It is also important to wash your hands often with warm water and soap. Use tissues when you cough or sneeze, and bin used tissues as quickly as possible. Thank you for helping to protect yourself and loved ones this winter.